In 5 minutes we will start the second round of women's single here in Winterberg.
We are in the Sauerland range of mountains, specifically the Kappa Mountain. We're here, the Winterberg bobsled, luge, and skeleton track has been hosting World Cup races for the past 49 seasons. Women's singles here in the Luge World Cup earlier today, third place. American Ashley Farquharson looking for her first podium of the season. Madeline Egla, three-time winner so far this season on the World Cup. She's sitting in second place. And the four-time overall World Cup champion, Julia Tobitz, looking for a little bit of a comeback this weekend after a couple of disappointing finishes, 9th and 10th place in the last two races. Julia is leading the way, and she's also leading the way in career World Cup wins among active athletes in women's singles. A win today would be her 30th on the World Cup. Hi again, everyone. I'm Tim Singer. We get set for run number 2. It's been a great weekend already so far, an historic weekend in men's doubles earlier today. The German tandem of Tobias Wendel and Tobias Alt captured their 55th career World Cup victory, their 5th European Championship. Those are both records to go along with their all-time record, 3 Olympic gold medals. In women's doubles, it was a 5th straight win for the Austrian team of Egla and Kipp. But here you see the stats for women's singles. Tobitz's track record was set earlier today. Natalie Geisenberger, perhaps the GOAT of women's singles in the history of the sport, still holds the start record. That's a 15-year-old record. (1,293 meters) with a relatively flat start location. Sometimes that makes things a little less scary and difficult, but any mistake early and you may be done for the day. As we get set for run number 2, let's again take a closer look at this track. Over there in the upper right part of your screen, that's where the women's start is, and now you get the point of view. The Schlitten camera, as they say here in the native tongue. And as always, a great job by Felix Lach of Germany for providing the sled and the camera, but then former World Cup athlete Julian von Schleinitz doing a great job, as always, with all of the metrics on the lower part of your screen. Kilometers of an hour reaching into the 120s. Our fastest speed, I believe, in run number 1 was by Emily Sweeney, about 85 miles per hour. And some really tricky turns, especially in the lower labyrinth area, upcoming out of 11, 12, 13, and then corner 14. Track record again set earlier today by Tobitz. And as we check out the start list, 3 Americans, 2 Canadians, and then the whole complement of Austrians and Germans making up the better part of this list. But here, page 1, Romania, Italy, Sweden. Great to see those nations competing as well. As far as split times, differentials on the right, the lead by Tobitz over Egla and Farquharson within 1/10 of a second, with Schulte, Sweeney, and Almayer lurking not too far behind. And don't count out Anna Bierreiter and her chance to make a run onto the podium here in run number 2. Well, welcome one more time to all of our viewers around the world watching on the YouTube channels.
Genau, es sind noch 30 Sekunden bis zum Start des ersten Schlittens im zweiten Lauf.
Nothing I can say that man didn't already tell you, but so thankful that you're joining in, tuning in live around the world now at a little more reasonable hour for our viewers, even those waking up early in Whistler and Calgary, just after 6 a.m. for run number 2 of the singles. Getting ready to start now with Karina Buzetoy. Karina came down in about 17th place when she finished in run number 1, then held on as she dropped place by place, but hung into the top 20. First to go here in run number 2 of this 2-heat combined time competition. Team Romania figures to take part tomorrow as one of 8 or 9, maybe 10 entries into the team relay. As Karina will be joined by the 2 doubles teams and either Valentin Cretu or Eddie Krejcien, who will race tomorrow in the opening race, men's singles. Karina had a 55.680 late in first run. She's skidding pretty badly here in 11 and 12. Slows down enough to clean it up uphill here in corner 14, but lost a lot of time, and consequently her run 2 time is about 0.4 of a second slower than the opening heat.
Finish time after 2 runs, 151.74. From Romania.
You need all the help you can get when you make your way down a slick sheet of ice at 80 miles per hour.
From Canada, Emily Sasko. That is my quickest clear.
Emberly Susko now from Canada. She had a top 10 finish last year on the World Cup at her home track in Whistler. Fairly significant, as everyone will be headed there in 2 weeks' time to take part in the World Championships, February 6th, 7th, and 8th. Whistler actually was slated to host the World Championships back in 2021, and that had to be postponed due to the pandemic, where for 2 seasons all the races were held in Europe. So those World Championships were shifted to Königssee, but Whistler got the first opportunity to host this biggest of all events, and it's coming up next month. From the red into the green here in the late going, Emberly with 2 podiums in the Junior World Cup earlier this season, including one here in Winterberg. That was in singles as well. She's done some double sliding.
Finish time 1 minute
55.597, faster than her first run and more to the point. They count them all here in World Cup Luge, so the 2-heat time is 151.266.
Die Zeiten im zweiten Lauf bereit. Im Vergleich zum ersten.
Emberly's teammate now, Caitlin Nash, looked very focused as she grabs the handles at the start. Caitlin ranked 22nd in the World Cup standings. She's taken part in all of the races but one. The Canadian team skipped the Segula World Cup, but in the other 4, Caitlin has had top 20s in every race.
Caitlin Nash ist gestartet. Die Uhr läuft im Vergleich zu ihrer Landsfrau Startzeit 5,08, Startzeit 5,08.
Caitlin, a top 3 finisher 2 seasons ago on the World Cup in doubles in Park City before concentrating full-time on singles. Couple of hiccups in the labyrinth, or actually I should say in the entrance to the Kreisel. but holding still a 1/10 of a second advantage over her teammate Emberly Susko. Now skidding badly, now potentially in trouble. She cleans it up, loses all of her time. Emberly could be on her way to one of her first ever relay showings later today. I'm not sure if Emberly has been in a relay, perhaps that Whistler race last year. So Emberly holds on to her spot. Caitlin with some trouble down below. But her finish time guarantees her another top 20, her 5th of the year. Now, we haven't seen a lot of issues out of, I believe, that being curve 11 so far today. Now Sandra Robacher, 29 years old. Another one of the products of the natural track program for the Italians. Sandra, a picture of perseverance, as seemingly every season at some point she's had a shoulder injury. And again, it's back to the rehab, back to the hard work, and eventually back to the World Cup. So far, it's been great to see Robacher on board for the entire season. And in the top 15 in the standings. Coming off of a 7th place result last week in Altenburg. The first of 2 to qualify for run number 2 for Italy. Sandra Robacher uphill to the finish line. Nicely done, 55.391, well out in front of the Canadian. About a 1/10 of a second faster than her first run time. This track underwent a redesign in 2006, where that building right behind Sandra, that building was constructed, actually more recently, and then right behind our camera there, the finish house, a brand new finish house. It used to be just a small little wooden building with 2 small rooms. They've done a great job here upgrading the equipment, upgrading the track. Here's Alina Bota of Latvia, a 24-year-old 2-time winner in her career on the World Cup, including earlier this season on her home track in Sigulda. And update on that, she's actually won 3 times, twice in Sigulda, once in St. Moritz, Switzerland. Bit of a surprising and disappointing run in the opening heat for Alina, who looked to be on her way to a good time, especially after her patented usual fast start, and then somehow gave up a lot of time down below. Let's see what happens here. 2600s up out of curve 11. That was actually out of, that was much earlier. Yeah, so she crosses, and she doesn't give away any time. She doesn't lose any time, or not anything significant. So Alina Bota with a much better second run here, a 55.204. 2/10 of a second faster than her first run. Has a chance to move up 3 or 4 spots here as we take another look at the Ziel curve, corner 14. It's great to finally get that shot now that we have the shades up, the sun setting behind the shot of this camera. And the Latvia cheers from these enthusiastic spectators who come to every race, no matter where it's held. Verena Hoffa. Verena 15th place after run number 1. looking for her third top 10 of this season. She'll need some help for the next sleds, but first things first, she'll need to stay in the green right here. Great look overhead of the Veltins Kreisel. Each of the 4 German tracks have a Kreisel. Königssee, Altenburg, Oberhof, and here in Winterberg. Then Innsbruck has one. You will find no Kreisel in North America. Calgary used to have one. Little bit of a problem there entering curve 14. So 500s up for Verena Hofer. Gave away some time down there at the bottom, but holds on to her spot. Calgary probably still has that Kreisel, but the track no longer in operation. You see that big exhale from all of these athletes, and that has a practical purpose. It isn't just a yoga move to relax the whole body, although that helps, but it's to keep the shield from fogging up over the course of the next 45 to 60 seconds. Verena joins Alina there on the leaderboard. Six paddles for Tova Koala, who finds herself in a great position here after run number 1. 14th place for Team Sweden. If she hangs on or only drops one spot, it will be a season best, perhaps a career best for Tova Koala. She and her brother Svante and all of the Swedes have the good fortune of being able to train with Team Austria, and you know what Austria has done over the past couple of years. Certainly losing some time to the Italians and Latvians at the moment. So Tova will be hard-pressed to keep this in the top 3 necessary for her to equal her best result. And still skidding in and looping out of curve number 14. A little bit of a letdown here in run number 2 for Tova. 3,300s off of the pace. Still, it can be no worse than 17th place. So another top 10 showing, and that is the slow, steady progress we're seeing from Tova Koala, her 4th consecutive top 20 result.
Melina Fischer steht oben, die mit der hohen Startnummer sich dann reingefahren hat in diesen zweiten Lauf der Reitshilfe.
Now the first of 4 Germans in the top 13 after run number 1, and this will be an interesting one to watch. Melina Fischer, certainly she's number 4 on the depth chart in Germany, but she started very late in run number 1, put down a good time. Yesterday, she did not put down a good time in trying to qualify for this race and just barely made it in. So a good Fischer could make her way into the top 10. A bad Fischer could make some mistakes here and drop back a few positions. Melina with 2 top 10s this year, including an 8th place in Oberhof. Like the first run leader, Julia Tobitz, she's a product of the Altenburg region, Saxony. Nice lines down here, 11, 12, 13, and into 14. Good run, good speed at 81.3 miles per hour. By a decisive margin, Fischer takes the lead over Verena Hofer.
Hat sich aufgesteigert jetzt im zweiten Lauf. Wir sehen jetzt bessere Zeiten.
12 still to come here. including all of the top Austrians, 3 Germans, 3 Americans.
Jetzt wird's aber wieder laut bei den Netten. Kämpferballone oben von Latvia.
But now the horns are blowing for our final Latvian in today's women's singles competition, Kendia Apario. Several times a podium finisher, still looking for her first career victory. It won't happen today, but a run into the top 10 is possible, but not after those problems at the start. This Winterberg track has a curve 0. It was an added curve in recent years. Not that recent anymore, but after they had initially built the original track. And it can come back to bite you, especially in bobsled. But we saw it right there at the women's start for Luge. So Kendia giving it all away. It has been a perplexing mystery type season for Kendia Apario, who has made steady progress on the World Cup over her career, but has had very subpar results this year outside of her 4th place finish on her home track. Still trying to figure it all out. You can see the look on her face. Just hits that wall, takes her over there. Really, curve 0 had nothing to do with that because the problems occurred right on the start ramp. All the same, you hear in the background the supporters yelling Kendia, enough to give Kendia a smile despite the disappointing finish. Germany with 4 in the top 13. Austria with 4 in the top 11 after run number 1, including this woman in 11th place, Dorothea Schwarz.
Die 11. des ersten Durchgangs ist gestartet mit einer Startzeit von 5,10.
Dorothea will celebrate her 20th birthday in a few days as the team travels from Winterberg to Oberhof. Will she celebrate with a top 10 finish? She's lost her advantage already over Melina Fischer. Now, these Austrian sleds have proven this year they have the ability to erase a 600th of a second disadvantage. Pretty good drive lines. She stopped the lead, still 600th, but now problems as well. Into curve 11, and she's over in the labyrinth, holding onto the sled, but no chance to cross the finish line. Again, this is a very steep uphill. She did all she could to stay in contact with the sled, but the result is the first crash of the day. Doubles and women's singles. Or I should qualify that. We had a couple in doubles. The first crash in women's singles. We'll make sure that Dorothy's okay, but again, we've seen some recent activity here in curve 11. The entrance to 11 was rough, and she just was never able to straighten out that sled. And with so many tight turns coming your way so quickly, she was through well before she was even in the 12-13 combination. Taking that helmet off, we hope not beat up too bad. Shaking her head, but telling the track worker that she's okay as we get the thumbs up. A little bit of a hold for Natalie Mogg now as she gets what they're called iced. I'm not sure if they've cleared the track. Her shield is down, which could be a bit of an issue because we know Schwarz is still on the track down below. Hopefully they'll remove her pretty quickly. Natalie Mogg with 5 smooth paddles. Let's check out this start time. 8th fastest at 5.111. Natalie, 27 years old, from Bernich-Hausen, Switzerland. Her favorite track, not surprisingly, St. Moritz. It's the favorite track of a lot of lugers and even more skeleton and bobsleigh athletes. The natural track, the only one left in the World Cup circuit that is not refrigerated, and it's quiet, it's long, and it's beautiful. Natalie in the green most of the way, but finally gives up her 0.2 of a second advantage from Lena Fischer down here at the bottom by 0.02 of a second. So Melina has ridden that elevator into the top 10, and in theory, Germany could place all 4 competitors into the top 10 today, depending what happens with Merla next, Anna and Julia still to come.
Das heißt also, Melina hat es geschafft in die Top 10. Dazu schon ein Glückwunsch hier von der Sprecherseite. Jetzt die nächste Deutsche, die wir oben sehen, Merle Frebel. Next starter, Merle Frebel.
Melina Fischer stays out in front, Germany over Switzerland and Italy. She stands all alone in that leader box for now. Merle Frebel has about a 1/10 of a second advantage over her countrywoman. 5 paddles and a very smooth settle through curve 0. Merle really coming on with some solid results. A breakout year for this young German who hopes to capture one of those 3 spots should Germany qualify 3 at the Olympic Games, which they likely will. The 21-year-old headed back to her home track next weekend for the 2nd time this year. A track where she captured a World Cup victory last season in a sprint event. Holding on to her spot with very seasoned turns from top to bottom. 54.974 for Merle Frebel. That's quite a bit better than her first run. So she made a statement there. That'll be interesting to see if she can pick off the Americans, her teammate Anna Bierreiter, over the next several sleds, because that was one of the better runs we've seen here. That's a run that I believe may have put her in 3rd, 4th, or 5th place, somewhere maybe about 4th place in run number 1. So Merle Frebel absolutely nails it, crushes it here in run number 2, and now Summer Britcher. Summer held just 0.03 of a second on Frebel after run number 1. We just saw what Merle did. So Summer will need to kill it here. And so far in the early going, very good. As she opens it up to about, well, just loses a little bit. Still 200s. Summer really looking for that first wonderful run of the season. She's had some decent results at 6th place, a couple of 7th. But there have not been any of these competition runs where we've seen Summer come up the outrun with that fist pump saying, finally. Will it happen now? Losing more time now to the German. The 30-year-old 3-time Olympian will be headed to Korea later this year, where she still holds the track record. But first things first, across the finish line, dropping 1 spot, distant 2nd place behind Merle Frebel. Merle absolutely has the potential, from what we just saw, to pick off not just Summer Britcher as she just did, but teammate Anna Bierreiter, Barbara Allmeyer, possibly even Emily Sweeney still to come. That's how good that run by Frebel was just moments ago. Shrug of the shoulders from Summer, and back to the top for Anna Bierreiter. 1 Olympics, and all she did at those Olympic Games. was capture silver. Handling the dragon, that track in Yangzheng in a way that very few not named Geisenberger did. Now Bielreiter coming off of her first podium of this season. She's a 5-time winner on the World Cup in her still short career, just 25 years old. Part of the military program in Germany, also a part-time student from the beautiful town of Berchtesgaden. She too falls behind Mirela Frebel. As I mentioned, Frebel absolutely nailed it moments ago. She should be able to stay ahead of the American Summer Luge, but will drop likely 1 spot in the standings here. As Anna Bielreiter crosses, a little adventurous down there at the bottom, and the second fastest time here in run number 2. But Mirela Frebel keeps riding the elevator. She started in 9th place. Now she's likely a top 6, perhaps a top 5. Anna, earlier this season, captured the national championship of Germany. No small feat in its own, right here on this track. But she will not have a race win here, nor likely a podium here at the European Championships. Barbara Almayer of Austria. A career best 4th place earlier this year in Lillehammer. Looking a little unsteady with her settle here, but 5 hard paddles. 12th fastest start time for Almayer. Already in the red. Mirela Frebel poised and ready to pick off another. At the end of the day, Germany could have 4 in the top 7. It's like days of yore when the Germans used to sweep the podium in women's singles. We still have some Americans, a pair of Austrians as well, who have something to say about that. But in the meantime, Frebel will fall behind, or Almayer will fall behind Frebel, perhaps even behind Anna Bielreiter. Can she stay ahead of Summer Britcher? She does in 3rd place as she hits hard on the exit of 14. All things considered, another top 10 for Barbara Almayer. Still a young athlete at 21 years old. And moderate consistency for her so far this season. Hits hard, as you see, on that exit of 14, right at the finish line. Be an interesting race if they move that finish line up another 5 meters or so. But usually those tough exits of 14 do not cost you that much. Emily Sweeney of the United States, our greetings to the Sween team. If you're up early watching in the USA, you've got more important things to worry about, like your travel plans to Whistler in a couple of weeks, wedding plans next summer. But here's Emily, who in run number 1 put down the fastest speed of anyone, if not the fastest time. 5th place after run number 1. It's about 15 hundredths up on Frebel heading into run number 2. She's lost 3 hundredths of that lead already. Let's see how this next interval tells the story. Stop the bleeding. This could be advantage USA, but Mirela Frebel was very quick down here. Emily Sweeney battling neck injuries off and on from week to week, but when she's on, she's really on, including a World Championship medal on this track in 2019. USA against Germany right to the finish here. Exit of curve 14. Emily Sweeney stays in the green and adds to her advantage over Frebel. It was a nice run for Mirela, but here's Emily Sweeney into the top 5 for the 3rd time this season, and a chance to make up a little run of the World Cup standings. She enters the race tied with American Ashley Farquharson in 7th place.
Das sehen wir jetzt von Lisa Schulze als nächstes, die Österreicherin.
Top 5 for Emily Sweeney. Lisa Schulte looking to protect a top 4, if not make it onto the podium. And Lisa has been in the top 4 in every race so far this season. In fact, she's been on the podium in all but one event. So a great consistent performance for Schulte, who still holds that World Championship distinction, and briefly this season also was the World Cup leader. Lisa falling now 0.06 of a second behind Emily Sweeney. Emily was fast down below. Lisa certainly has the potential to be as well, although she's losing more time now at 300s. One more interval. Let's see how it's working for the Austrian. Good lines, but 400s. That can be made up, but it can be only made up with perfect driving now out of 11 and into the lower labyrinth. It's looking like advantage USA. And one spot, Lisa Schulte falls behind. It will be another top 5 for her. Top 5 in every race. No one else has done that in women's singles. But a measure of how much she's progressed, she certainly looks disappointed, even with what will be a top 5 result. So currently it's Sweeney ahead of Schulte and Frabel. Those are the top 3, but now the race for the podium. The United States has been guaranteed its 2nd podium of the year in women's singles. Will it be Emily Sweeney, who won the earlier podium in Lillehammer, or will it be this woman, Ashley Farquharson? Ashley's been consistent all year long, and she has a major problem with the saddle, and an incredibly disappointing end to what could have been a spectacular breakthrough podium performance for Ashley Farquharson, as the 25-year-old American suffers the problems of a difficult start curve. And this will not even be a top 10, folks. So bittersweet down at the bottom when we catch the camera shot of Emily. She'll be happy to be on the podium for sure, but to see what happened and see it end so quickly for Ashley, who's been coming on so well over the course of the season. All she can do is relax, try to find some speed down at the bottom, and she does with a relatively clean finish.
1:51.04.
Ashley has been in podium position in the past. In fact, I believe in her first ever World Cup race several years ago in Winterberg, 2019, she was in a podium position after run number 1 and gave that away. And this is just a look at her not being able to settle on the sled after those great paddles. And as a result, she couldn't right the ship in time, and she hit that curve 0 wall. Now we have 2 remaining, Egla and Tobitz. They are the 2 best in the world over the past 5 years. In fact, their careers have been so similar, up to and including each of them having crashes at the Olympic Games. Without those crashes, they would have been on the podium at those Olympics. Egla, Tobitz. They've won 4 of the 5 races this year. Madeline has won 3 of them, and now the Austrian. Battling headaches all week long during training. Can she put that to rest here with a victory? She's got a pretty good advantage over Emily Sweeney entering the run. And she's opening it up. She's putting the pressure on Tobitz. So it will be another race, another podium, unless something major happens down here in 11, 12, 13, and 14. Tiny skid, but nothing major. No track record. In fact, Madeline gave away about a tenth of a second to Sweeney down there at the bottom, but she's on the podium once again and guarantees that she will protect her position atop the World Cup rankings. She will be the World Cup leader at the end of the day, regardless of what Julia Tobitz does coming up here in just a second. Yeah, that tiny skid into 14. It could have been worse, but the experienced athletes are able to roll with that and just let it flow through that finish curve. Austria and USA on the podium. Now Germany looks to put one sled on the podium as well, as Julia Tobitz is in search of career World Cup victory number 30. It would be her second of the season, and it would be a great comeback after disappointing results of 9th and 10th place in her last two races. She's clean here at the start, if not particularly fast, but that 10th fastest start time is still an improvement for Julia over seasons past. The 28-year-old Saxonian, who now makes her home in Oberhof. Trailing right now by 12/100ths over Madeline Engla. A bit of a surprise here now. Julia certainly can reverse the trend here. Let's check out this split. Now 500ths, unbelievable. This is what Tobitz does best. She can give away time at the top, and she can find it at the bottom, into the green. Earlier today, the doubles team of the Tobys won for the 55th time. Now a landmark victory for Germany's Julia Tobitz. World Cup win number 30, and like the Tobys, she does it with the biggest of exclamation points, a track record. Greeted by her Germany countrymates, Anna Bierreiter and Berta Frebel. They're at the finish, and the always smiling Julia Tobitz is downright beaming there. Second place to Austria as Madeline Engla maintains the World Cup lead. Emily Sweeney of the United States wins her second podium of the year. Seventh place finisher at the Olympic Games, and at those Olympics, Julia, in 2 of the 4 runs, had the fastest time. So without a crash in run number 2, she could very well have challenged Natalie Geisenberger for the top spot. That's in the past. In the present here in Winterberg, World Cup win number 30 after 2 very un-Tobitz-like performances, 9th and 10th in the last 2 races. Far and away, Julia leads the way among women's singles athletes of active athletes with 30 World Cup wins. Her closest pursuer is that woman right there next to her, Madeline Engla, with 15 wins. Madeline will hang on to the World Cup seasons points, but Tobitz wins the day over Engla, Sweeney, Schulte, Frebel, Bierreiter. Those 6 really have been the class of the field all season long. Disappointment for Ashley Farquharson as she has trouble at the start and falls out of podium position into 15th place. 2 Canadians as well end up in the top 20, including Margita Cersina, the Latvian, in the top 20, sneaks right back in after 1 crash in run 2 by another competitor. Madeline Engla, as promised, stays out in front, but Julia Tobitz moves up a spot, jumping over Schulte, Frebel, Bierreiter, and Sweeney. They make up the top 6 right now with a lot of shifting, very tight, especially among the top 3. It's going to be an exciting race all the way to the finish between the Austrians and the Germans, with the USA still hoping to have a say in the matter as the World Cup Tour resumes next week in Oberhof and then concludes in Pyeongchang and Beijing. For Lisa Schulte, she'll have a podium finish for the European Championships, but that woman, Emily Sweeney, takes the podium in the World Cup. 3rd place, her 2nd podium of the season. 2nd place, not winning the day, but still winning the season, Madeline Egla. Egla's been on the podium now 4 times this year, 3 of them wins. And for Julia Tobitz, also podium number 4 this season with victory number 2 on the year and landmark 30th World Cup win in her career. Tobitz still just 28 years old, a lot of luging and chalking up of victories still to come. For these German athletes, it's also a double pleasure to be able to be the fastest in your country. Never an easy feat. It gives Julia the opportunity to race alongside the Tobys and Jessica and Cheyenne tomorrow in the team relay. Dwight Belt passing out the hardware once again, another week, another podium for Madeline. Back on the podium for the race winner, Julia Tobitz, and also back on for American Emily Sweeney, who we've said time and again, when Emily is not injured, she's as fast as anyone. In a moment, they will kick Sweeney off of that podium as they have a 1-2-3 finish as well, probably after we leave air for the European Championship. So again, congratulations as well to Lisa Schulte, who makes her way onto the podium for the European title. And there you have them. The USA and the Canadians leave the leaderboard for the time being. The 56th European champion is Julia Tobitz. For Julia, she has not won the European Championships quite a bit. So this is, I believe, her first ever European Championship. Not quite sure of that, but along with World Cup win number 30 comes European title number 1. Not surprisingly, Natalie Geisenberger leads the way all time with 5 career European titles. All right, we await the interviews. We generally get slow-mo highlights of each of them beforehand, but it looks like Patrick's down there ready to talk to Emily Sweeney.
Emily, congratulations. The last few races have been a bit challenging for you, but what a comeback today.
Thank you. Yeah, not just the races. This week was really tough in training. The track crew has done an incredible job with the track, but it's a different track than normal. So, yeah, I really struggled to find a clean line down, but I'm happy with the third for sure.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great battle among 3 American women who have been fighting one another and raising the level of all of USA women's singles luge, regular top 10 results and periodic podiums for the American women. Second place, Madeline Egla of Austria.
Congratulations, what a race. It was super close in the end. How happy are you with your performance?
I'm very happy because my week was not really good. I had a few fights in training and also had some material issues. So I'm so happy that, well, I'm again on the podium, vice European champion. Great. And I'm very grateful for this.
What was the last piece that was missing for the win today?
Well, I mean, my runs were not that clean, but I'm really happy about the start time. I had a 4:99, so this was my goal. I reached this goal, and now it's just getting more like continuous in the track, like more continuity. I don't know.
Congratulations.
And for Julia Tobitz, That's Madeline, of course, making her way down on a celebratory outrun, another podium. But for Tobitz, she breaks a little bit of a mini slump to give herself World Cup win number 30. We hope to grab her in just a moment for some winning interviews as well. Patrick all alone down there in the interview zone as German television live around the country right now on a Saturday afternoon have understandably snatched the winner for the live interview. But the crowd is waiting. Still ahead, the formal award ceremony, as well as the European Championship Awards. As we wait for Julia, great job all day long by FIL Sport Director Matthias Bohmer. Our jury, Manuela Senger, and the jury here in Germany doing a great job. Race Director Jörg Kronauge. And here is the winner, Julia Tobitz. Career victory number 30.
Julia, congratulations. What a run for you today. It's your first European Championship title. How do you feel here at home?
Yeah, I feel really great. The last 2 weeks was really hard for me. My mental was really down, and I have a good partner on my side who is helping me to get better and better with my mental health. And yeah, I really like the track here in Winterberg. Also, the weather is perfect. We have sunshine 3 days. And yeah, so I'm really happy about this day.
Thank you. Congratulations.
You're welcome.
And when Julia wins, she manages to get through that interview in English without any stumbles. So a double victory. Win-win for Julia Tobitz as she captures the women's singles competition. Earlier today, a landmark victory in men's doubles. Tobias Vendel and Tobias Arlt, a career best 55th all-time World Cup win to go along with their most ever Olympic medals and all of their world championships. And in women's doubles, Selena Egla and Lara Kipp remain the most closest thing to perfection this year as they win for the 5th week in a row. Lots of exciting action here in Winterberg, and it all figures to continue again tomorrow as we rejoin the action for men's singles and the team relay. Until then, for Vera and our entire FIL production crew, Chris doing the live streaming, everyone putting in these great pictures and sounds, we say so long for Winterberg. I'm Tim Singer. Thanks for joining us.